Chapter 1, The Woman I Trusted. My name is Ethan Carter, and until yesterday, I believed I had the perfect life. I was a software architect working for one of the biggest technology companies in America. For 3 long years, I worked day and night to build an AI platform that could change the future of the company. I never cared about fame. I only wanted to create something meaningful. The greatest reward, however, wasn't my work. It was Victoria Hayes. Victoria wasn't just my boss. She was the CEO of the company, and she was also my fiancée. We met years ago during a difficult project. First, we argued about everything. Later, those arguments turned into respect, and respect slowly became love. 6 months ago, I asked her to marry me. When she said yes, I truly believed I was the luckiest man alive. That morning, my best friend, Lucas Reed, walked into my office carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Morning, genius," he said, placing 1 cup on my desk. I smiled. "Thanks. Big day today. You finally get to present your AI project to the board." "I've waited 3 years for this." Lucas laughed. "And after today, everyone will know you're the real reason this company is leading the industry." "I don't need applause," I replied. "I just want the project to help people." He shook his head. "That's why you'll always be different from the others." Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was my younger sister, Emma. "Hey, Emma. Ethan, are you busy?" "Only for a few minutes." She hesitated before speaking. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Has Victoria seemed different lately?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Every time I visit the office, she looks distant. She's under pressure." "Ethan, I'm serious." "So am I." "She's preparing for today's meeting." "I hope that's all it is." I smiled, even though she couldn't see me. "Don't worry. Victoria loves me." Emma stayed quiet for a moment. "I hope you're right." After hanging up, I looked at the framed photo of Victoria and me on my desk. We were smiling at the beach, holding each other's hands. Looking at that picture filled me with peace. I picked up the engagement ring catalog we had been using to plan our wedding. Soon, everything would be perfect. Or at least, that's what I believed. An hour later, I entered the executive boardroom. Victoria stood beside Damian Brooks. The moment I saw him, something felt wrong. Damian had always treated me like I didn't belong. Every conversation with him felt like a hidden battle. Victoria smiled at everyone. "Good morning." The board members greeted her warmly. She continued, "Today marks the beginning of a new era for our company." I waited for her to invite me forward. Instead, she turned toward Damian. "I'd like everyone to congratulate Damian Brooks for leading the development of our revolutionary AI platform." The room exploded with applause. My heart froze. Damian stepped forward with a confident smile. "Thank you," he said. "This project demanded countless sleepless nights, but it was worth every second." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I built every line of that platform, every design, every test, every failure, every success. Victoria knew the truth. She looked directly into my eyes. Then she looked away without saying a single word. I stood frozen while the applause echoed through the boardroom. My hands felt cold, but I forced myself to stay calm. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe Victoria planned to explain everything after the meeting. Damian smiled at me. "Anything you'd like to add, Ethan?" I swallowed the anger rising inside me. "No." Victoria finally spoke. "Let's continue with the presentation." I watched Damian present my work as if he had created every idea himself. Every slide on the screen came from months of my sleepless nights. Every chart, every feature, every demonstration belonged to me. When the meeting ended, everyone congratulated Damian. I walked toward Victoria. "Can we talk?" She nodded. "Of course." We stepped into her office. I looked into her eyes. "Why did you do that?" She crossed her arms. "This wasn't the right time to explain." "Explain what?" "The company needed Damian in front of the investors. I built the platform." "I know." "Then why did you let him take the credit?" She sighed. "Ethan, please trust me." "I do trust you." She smiled softly. Then give me a little more time. I wanted answers, but I loved her too much to keep arguing. Okay, I whispered. I promise everything will make sense. I nodded and left her office. As I reached the parking garage, Noah Bennett, the company's security manager, called my name. Ethan. I turned around. Hey Noah. You look upset. Long day. He lowered his voice. Be careful. I frowned. What do you mean? I've seen things around this building that don't feel right. What things? He glanced around before answering. I can't say yet. Just don't trust everyone. Before I could ask another question, he walked away. His warning stayed in my mind during the drive home. That evening, Lucas called. Want to grab dinner? Not tonight. You sure? I'm tired. You don't sound okay. I'll be fine. If you need me, call. I will. After hanging up, I sat alone in my apartment. My phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. I opened the message. The woman you love has already chosen your enemy. I read it again, then again. My heartbeat became louder. No! I immediately called the number. The call failed. I sent a message back. Who are you? No reply. I stared at the screen for several minutes. Victoria's smiling face appeared as my phone wallpaper. For the first time since I met her, doubt entered my heart. I whispered to myself, please, tell me this isn't true. I had no idea that the worst night of my life was waiting just a few hours away. Chapter 2, the night my heart broke. I couldn't stop staring at the anonymous message. The woman you love has already chosen your enemy. I read it over and over, hoping it was some cruel joke. No, I whispered. Victoria would never do this. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. Victoria kissed my cheek before walking into her office. Good morning, she said with a smile. Morning. You look tired. I didn't sleep well. You work too much. I forced a smile. I guess I do. She walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. The entire day felt strange. Victoria barely spoke to me. Around 6 o'clock, I saw her leave the building through the private exit. Instead of driving home, I quietly followed her. My heart kept telling me to turn around. My mind refused. Her car stopped outside one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. A few seconds later, another luxury car arrived. Damian Brooks stepped out. My stomach tightened. I stayed hidden behind a parked car and watched them enter together. There has to be an explanation, I whispered. I moved closer until I reached a window beside their private dining room. Then I heard Victoria laugh. A laugh I thought belonged only to me. Damian raised his glass. To our success, Victoria smiled. And to finally getting Ethan's AI. My entire body froze. Damian laughed. I still can't believe he trusted you so easily. Victoria shrugged. He was in love. That made everything simple. They both laughed. Every word felt like another knife in my chest. Damian leaned back. So, was any of it real? Victoria took a sip of wine before answering. Our engagement? Yeah. She smiled without hesitation. It was good business. I stopped breathing. Damian grinned. Poor Ethan. He's nothing more than a useful fool. Victoria nodded slowly. He gave us everything we needed. I wanted to burst into the room. I wanted answers. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stood there, completely broken. The woman I planned to marry had never loved me. She had only loved what I created. I quietly stepped away from the window before they could see me. My hands shook so badly I could barely unlock my car. I drove without knowing where I was going. Tears blurred the road ahead. For the first time in years, I felt completely alone. I drove for almost an hour without knowing where I was going. My tears refused to stop. Every promise Victoria had ever made echoed inside my head like a cruel joke. My phone rang. It was Lucas. I ignored it. A minute later, it rang again. Then again. Finally, I answered. Ethan, where are you? He asked. I don't know. What happened? I can't explain. Stay where you are. I'm coming. About 20 minutes later, Lucas pulled his car beside mine. He opened my door and looked at my face. My God, Ethan. I couldn't hold myself together anymore. She lied to me. What are you talking about? I followed her. His expression changed. You what? I saw Victoria having dinner with Damian. Lucas stayed silent. They laughed at me, Lucas. What did they say? I looked down at my shaking hands. She said our engagement was only good business. Lucas closed his eyes. She called me useful. His jaw tightened. And Damian called me a fool. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, Lucas said quietly, I'm sorry. I laughed through my tears. I gave her everything. I know. I trusted her with my heart. I know. And she destroyed it. Lucas placed a hand on my shoulder. Listen to me. This isn't your fault. Before I could answer, another car stopped nearby. Olivia Grant stepped out. She was the company's senior lawyer and one of the few people I respected. Lucas called me, she said softly. I looked at her in surprise. You knew. I suspected something was wrong. She handed me a sealed envelope. I can't say much tonight, but keep these documents safe. One day they'll matter. I accepted the envelope without opening it. What is this? The truth. She got back into her car and drove away. Lucas looked at me. What are you going to do now? I wiped my eyes and stared into the darkness. For the first time in my life, I'm not going to beg someone to love me. What does that mean? It means I'm done chasing people who don't value me. And Victoria? I took a deep breath. She made her choice. I started my engine. If they wanted war, I looked straight ahead. They're about to face one they never expected. At that moment, the broken man inside me disappeared. Someone stronger was beginning to take his place. Chapter 3 My Silent Disappearance. The next morning, I walked into the office as if nothing had happened. My heart was shattered, but my face showed nothing. Victoria smiled the moment she saw me. There you are, she said, wrapping her arms around me. I forced myself to smile. Good morning. I was worried about you. I'm fine. She looked into my eyes. Are you sure? Just tired. She kissed my cheek. You work too hard. Every word felt fake. Every smile hurt more than the last. I'll see you after work, she said. Of course. As soon as she walked away, I whispered to myself, you'll never know this is the last time you'll fool me. I went straight to my office and called Olivia Grant. Can we meet? 10 minutes, she replied. She quietly entered my office and locked the door. You've made your decision? She asked. Yes, she nodded. I've been waiting for you to say that. I handed her a folder. These are the original design files. She carefully checked every document. Good. They all prove you created the technology before the company filed anything. I need legal copies. I already prepared them. She placed another folder on my desk. No one knows. No one. Not even Victoria. Especially not Victoria. I smiled sadly. Thank you. You trusted the wrong people, Ethan, she said softly. Don't make that mistake again. After Olivia left, I opened my laptop and quietly submitted my resignation. No speeches. No arguments. Just one click. I watched the confirmation email arrive. For the first time in years, I no longer belonged to the company I had helped build. That afternoon, Emma called. How are you? I'll survive. You don't sound okay. I'm making a fresh start. Does Victoria know? No. Do you want her to? No. Emma stayed silent. I'm proud of you, she finally said. For what? For choosing yourself. Those words stayed with me for the rest of the day. That evening, Lucas picked me up. I want you to meet someone. Who? A man who changes lives. We drove across the city until we reached a quiet office overlooking the river. Inside waited an older man wearing a gray suit. Lucas smiled. Ethan, meet Richard Morgan. Richard shook my hand firmly. I've heard impressive things about you. I hope they're true. Lucas laughed. They're not impressive enough. Richard looked at me. Lucas told me everything. I frowned. Everything. He said someone stole your future. I looked him in the eyes. They stole my company. Richard smiled. No. He slid a folder across the table. They only stole your past. I slowly opened the folder. Inside was an investment proposal for a brand new technology company. If you still believe in your dream, Richard said, I'll help you build something even bigger. For the first time since my heart was broken, I smiled without pretending. I picked up the pen. I accept. Richard extended his hand. Welcome to your new beginning. I signed the papers without hesitation. At that moment, my old life quietly ended, and my new company officially began. After signing the papers, I looked at Richard. So, this is really happening? He smiled. It already happened the moment you decided to stop living for someone else's approval. Lucas laughed. I told you he'd say something like that. Richard handed me another folder. These are the first investment documents. Read them carefully tonight. I will. He stood and shook my hand again. Welcome to your own future, Ethan. As Lucas and I left the office, my phone began ringing. Victoria. I stared at the screen until it stopped. A second later, another call came. Then another. Lucas looked at me. Are you going to answer? I slowly shook my head. No. What if she keeps calling? She can keep wondering. I switched off my phone and slipped it into my pocket. The next morning, Emma came to my apartment carrying breakfast. Did she call again? More than 20 times. And I ignored everyone. Emma smiled proudly. Good. I need one more favor. Anything. Don't tell anyone where I am. She nodded without hesitation. I promise. Not Victoria. Especially not Victoria. Later that afternoon, Olivia met me at a small cafe. She placed another envelope on the table. Everything is legally protected now. I opened it carefully. My patents. They're safe. My resignation? Officially accepted. The company can't claim my original work? They'll try, Olivia replied calmly. But they won't win. I took a deep breath. Thank you. She smiled. You earned this, Ethan. Now build something they can never steal. For the next few days, I quietly emptied my apartment near the company headquarters and moved into a smaller place across town. No farewell party. No goodbye message. I simply disappeared. Meanwhile, Victoria kept sending messages. Where are you? Please call me. We need to talk. I read every message. I answered none of them. She believed I was hurt. She believed I would forgive her. She believed I would come back. She had no idea that every step I was taking had been carefully planned from the moment I heard her betray me. I wasn't running away. I was building a future where I would never depend on her again. As I placed the final company documents inside my desk, I smiled to myself. My disappearance wasn't the end of my story. It was the first move in a game they never realized I had already begun. Chapter 4, Building Myself Again. 3 months passed without a single conversation between Victoria and me. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise. Every night, I went to bed exhausted. For the first time in years, I wasn't working to make someone else rich. I was building my own future. One afternoon, Richard Morgan walked into my office with a woman wearing a navy blue suit. Ethan, he said, I'd like you to meet Sarah Collins. She smiled and offered her hand. I've heard you're stubborn. I laughed. So I've been told. She sat across from me. Richard asked me to mentor you. I appreciate that. She opened a notebook. Tell me why you're building this company. I answered without thinking. To prove Victoria was wrong. Sarah closed the notebook. Wrong answer. I frowned. What do you mean? If revenge is your only reason, you'll lose. I lost everything. No. She looked directly into my eyes. You lost a woman who never deserved your loyalty. I stayed silent. She continued. Real revenge isn't watching someone fall. What is it? It's building a life so successful that their betrayal no longer matters. Her words stayed with me long after she left. The next morning, she arrived before everyone else. "Show me your business plan." I handed it to her. She spent 20 minutes reading every page. Finally, she smiled. "Your technology is brilliant. Thank you. But your leadership needs work. I've never led a company before." "Then learn." "I will." "Good." From that day forward, Sarah challenged me every single day. She questioned every decision. She corrected every mistake. She refused to let me settle for average. Some days I felt frustrated. Other days I felt unstoppable. Late one evening, Emma visited my office carrying dinner. She looked around and smiled. "This place is alive. We're trying." She studied my face for a moment. "You've changed." "Have I?" "The brother I cried for is gone." I smiled. "Is that a good thing?" "It's the best thing." She hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you." For the first time since everything fell apart, I believed those words. A week later, Lucas rushed into my office holding his phone. "Ethan, turn on the news." I looked at the television. Victoria and Damian stood on a stage, smiling as cameras flashed around them. Damian announced, "Our AI platform is changing the future of business." I quietly watched without saying a word. Lucas looked at me. "Aren't you angry?" I slowly shook my head. "No." "Why not?" "Because lies don't live forever." Sarah smiled from across the room. "Exactly." I turned off the television. Let's get back to work. Our future mattered more than their lies. The following months became the hardest and most rewarding season of my life. Every morning, Sarah handed me a new challenge. "Fix this proposal. Improve your presentation. Meet the clients again." First, I made mistakes. I thought they liked the idea. I told her after losing an important client. "They liked your technology," Sarah replied. "They didn't trust your confidence." "So what do I do?" "Become the man your company deserves." Those words changed me. I stopped looking at my past. I started focusing on my future. Richard visited the office almost every Friday. He smiled as he watched our team grow. "I invested in the right person." "I won't disappoint you," I replied. "I know." One evening, Emma walked into my office carrying coffee. She laughed. "When was the last time you slept?" "I don't remember." "You've become a workaholic again." "This time I'm building my own dream." She looked around the office before smiling. "I remember the man who sat in his car crying." I lowered my eyes. "So do I." "I don't recognize him anymore." "What do you see now?" "I see my brother again." Her words meant more than any business award. A few days later, Noah Bennett secretly called me. "Ethan, good to hear from you. You need to know something." "What is it?" "Victoria and Damian are signing new contracts using your technology." I stayed calm. "I expected that." "Aren't you going to stop them?" "Not yet." "Why?" "Because the truth needs time." Noah lowered his voice. "There are already problems inside the company." "What kind of problems?" "The software is failing. Clients are complaining." I smiled for the first time during the call. "Thank you for telling me. Be ready." "I will." After hanging up, I looked out the office window. Sarah noticed the smile on my face. "Good news. The first cracks are appearing." She nodded. "I told you." "You did." Success is always stronger than anger. That night, everyone left the office except me. The lights were off. Only my computer screen remained bright. I looked at the company logo we had designed together. 6 months earlier, I had lost everything I thought mattered. Now I understood the truth. Victoria hadn't destroyed my future. She had pushed me toward a better one. I opened the final investment agreement and signed it with complete confidence. As I placed the pen on my desk, I whispered to myself, "I'm not rebuilding the man they broke." I smiled. "I'm becoming someone they will never be able to defeat." Chapter 5 cracks behind their smiles. Nearly 8 months had passed since I disappeared from Victoria's life. One morning, Lucas rushed into my office holding a tablet. "Ethan, you need to see this." I looked up from my desk. "What happened?" He placed the tablet in front of me. The headline read, "Major clients report critical failures in Hayes Technologies' AI platform." I quietly read every line. The software was crashing. Security systems were failing. Several companies had canceled their contracts. Lucas smiled. Karma is finally knocking. I remained silent. A few minutes later, Noah Bennett called me. "Ethan." "Good morning, Noah." I couldn't say this over the phone before. "What is it?" "The company is falling apart." "I saw the news." "That's only the beginning." My expression hardened. "What else?" "Damian never understood your system." "I know. He changed the core programming." I closed my eyes. "I warned them not to touch it. They didn't listen." Noah lowered his voice. "I've also found something much bigger." "What?" "I think Damian has been stealing company money for years." I sat upright. "Do you have proof?" "Not enough yet." "Be careful." "I always am." Before ending the call, Noah said quietly, "Victoria is starting to suspect him." That sentence stayed with me all day. A week later, Richard introduced me to a financial investigator. "Ethan," he said, "meet Daniel Foster." Daniel shook my hand. "I've reviewed everything Noah sent. And I believe Damian has been hiding millions through fake contracts. Can you prove it?" He smiled. "Give me time. I've learned patience." "So have I." Over the next several weeks, Daniel quietly investigated every financial record he could legally obtain. Meanwhile, my own company continued growing faster than I had imagined. Sarah entered my office one afternoon carrying several contracts. "Congratulations." "For what?" "You just signed 3 international partnerships." I looked at the documents in disbelief. "Are you serious?" She laughed. "I don't joke about business." Lucas raised both hands. "I told you we'd beat them." I smiled. "We're just getting started." That evening my phone lit up. Victoria Hayes calling. I stared at her name. Then I pressed decline. A minute later, she called again. Then again. Then again. I answered none of them. Emma looked at me. "Don't you even want to know what she has to say?" I slowly shook my head. "The woman I loved no longer exists." "Do you hate her?" I thought about the question for several seconds. "No." "What do you feel?" I looked out the window. "Sadness." "Why?" "Because she traded love for greed and lost both." A few nights later, I watched one of Victoria's television interviews. The confident woman I once admired looked exhausted. The reporter asked, "Can your company survive these failures?" Victoria forced a smile. "We're solving every issue." I knew she was lying, not because she wanted to, because Damian had never understood the technology he stole. For the first time, I didn't feel satisfaction. I only felt sorry for the woman who had chosen ambition over loyalty. I quietly turned off the television and returned to my work. My future was finally brighter than my past. The following week, Daniel asked me to meet him in a private conference room. "I found something," he said as he placed several files on the table. I opened the first folder. "What am I looking at?" "Fake consulting companies." He pointed to a list of payments. Every one of these businesses received money from Victoria's company. And they don't really exist. I looked at him in disbelief. "You're saying Damian created them?" Daniel nodded. Millions of dollars disappeared through these accounts. I slowly closed the folder. "Does Victoria know?" "I don't think so. If she finds out, her entire world will collapse." A few days later, Noah called again. "Ethan, what's happening now?" "The board has started asking questions." "And Damian?" "He's blaming everyone except himself." "What about Victoria?" "She's finally beginning to doubt him." I remained quiet. For months, I had imagined this moment. Now that it had arrived, I didn't feel victorious. I only remembered the woman I once planned to marry. That evening, my phone buzzed again. A new message from Victoria appeared. "Please, Ethan, just let me explain." Asterisk asterisk. I looked at the words for a long time. Then I locked my phone without replying. Some conversations belonged to the past. The next morning, Richard walked into my office smiling. I have good news. What is it? Our company has officially entered 3 international markets. Lucas laughed. Looks like we're becoming impossible to ignore. Sarah nodded proudly. You earned every bit of this. I smiled at my team. We earned it together. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing someone's approval. I was leading people who truly believed in me. As everyone celebrated, I looked through the office window toward the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Victoria's empire was slowly falling apart. Mine was only beginning to rise. I quietly thanked every painful moment that had brought me here. Without betrayal, I would never have discovered my true strength. Chapter 6, The Truth Explodes. 3 days before the court hearing, Daniel Foster walked into my office carrying a thick black case. He placed it on my desk. I finally have everything. I looked at him. Are you sure? He smiled. I'm completely sure. He opened the case and spread dozens of documents across my desk. These are the original patent records. I carefully examined every page. My signature. Daniel nodded. The timestamps prove you created the technology months before the company filed its application. I looked at Olivia Grant. Can they deny this? She shook her head. Not anymore. Richard smiled. It's time. I took a deep breath. I've waited long enough. The morning of the hearing arrived. For the first time in months, I walked into the courthouse. Reporters immediately noticed me. Mr. Carter, did you really invent the AI platform? Are you suing Hayes Technologies? I answered none of their questions. Inside the courtroom, Victoria was already sitting beside Damian. The moment she saw me, she froze. Her eyes filled with shock. Ethan. I didn't answer. Damian laughed loudly. So the ghost finally came back. I calmly took my seat. He leaned toward me. You've already lost. I looked at him without emotion. We'll see. The judge entered. Everyone, please be seated. The courtroom fell silent. Damian stood confidently. Your Honor, this case is nothing more than a desperate attempt by a former employee seeking attention. I almost smiled. Olivia slowly rose from her chair. Your Honor, we'd like to submit new evidence. She handed several folders to the judge. Daniel quietly placed the patent records beside them. The judge spent several minutes reading every page. The room remained completely silent. Finally, he looked toward Damian. Mr. Brooks. Damian smiled confidently. Yes, Your Honor? These documents indicate Mr. Ethan Carter legally owned the original patents before your company claimed them. Damian's smile disappeared. That's impossible. Olivia spoke firmly. It isn't impossible. She held up another document. These emails prove Mr. Brooks knowingly copied Mr. Carter's protected intellectual property. The courtroom erupted with whispers. Victoria stared at Damian. You told me everything was legal. Damian avoided her eyes. I can explain. Olivia wasn't finished. She placed another stack of papers before the judge. These financial records also connect Mr. Brooks to years of corporate fraud. Daniel nodded. Every transaction has been verified. The judge looked toward the officers standing near the courtroom doors. Mr. Brooks, stand up. Damian's face turned pale. This is ridiculous. Stand up. Slowly he obeyed. The judge spoke clearly. Based on the evidence presented today, I am ordering a criminal investigation and immediate seizure of all related records. 2 officers stepped forward. One of them said, Damian Brooks, you're under arrest for fraud, financial theft, and intellectual property violations. Damian struggled. You can't do this. The officer placed handcuffs on him. We just did. As he was escorted away, he looked at Victoria. Say something. She couldn't. She simply stood there, speechless. A few hours later, we entered the shareholder meeting. The investors had already received copies of the court's findings. The chairman spoke first. Victoria Hayes. She slowly stood. The board has voted. She lowered her head. You are hereby removed as Chief Executive Officer. effective immediately. No one applauded. No one defended her. Everything she had built collapsed in complete silence. As the meeting ended, she walked toward me with tears running down her face. "Ethan." I stopped. She whispered, "I believed the wrong man." I looked into her eyes. So did I. Without another word, I walked past her while reporters surrounded the building outside. For the first time since my world had fallen apart, the truth belonged to everyone, and no lie was left standing. Outside the building, camera flashes lit up the entrance as reporters rushed toward everyone leaving the meeting. "Mr. Carter, did you expect this outcome? Will you take over the company?" I kept walking. No comment. Richard caught up with me. "You handled that well. I didn't come here for attention." "I know. I came here for the truth." A few steps behind us, I heard someone call my name. "Ethan, please." I turned around. Victoria stood there alone. Her eyes were red from crying. "I need 5 minutes." Richard looked at me. "I'll wait outside." When we were alone, Victoria spoke with a trembling voice. "I never imagined Damian was lying to me." I looked at her quietly. "You never imagined I was telling the truth either." She lowered her head. "I thought he had proof." "You never asked to see mine." She covered her face. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I remained silent. She looked up again. "I lost everything." I answered calmly. "No, Victoria." She frowned. "You threw everything away the day you stopped trusting the person who loved you." Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. "I wish I could go back." "So did I. I would change everything." "The past doesn't change." She nodded slowly. "I know." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence said more than words ever could. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Ethan." I believed she meant it, but the apology arrived too late. I gave her a small nod. "I hope one day you find peace." Then I turned around and walked away without looking back. As I stepped outside, the cool evening air filled my lungs. Months ago, I had entered this fight with a broken heart. Now I walked away with something far more valuable than revenge. I walked away with my name, my dignity, and the truth. Behind me, an empire built on lies had fallen. Ahead of me, a future built by my own hands was waiting. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. The hardest battle of my life was finally over. Chapter 7. Her regret came too late. The morning after the court hearing, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Victoria Hayes. For a long moment, I considered ignoring the call. Instead, I answered. "Ethan." Her voice was weak. "Can we meet? Just once." I closed my eyes. "One conversation." "Thank you." An hour later, I met her at a quiet park where we had once planned our future together. She stood beside a bench, holding the engagement ring I had given her months earlier. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she whispered. "I almost didn't." She lowered her eyes. "I deserve that." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. "I loved success more than loyalty." I remained quiet. "I believed Damian because he promised me everything." She wiped away a tear. "I never stopped to ask whether you were telling the truth." "You didn't." "I chose ambition over the man who truly loved me." Her voice cracked. "I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me." I took a slow breath. "I know." She stepped closer. "Ethan, I'm sorry." I didn't answer. "I'm so sorry." She reached for my hand, but I gently stepped back. "I know your apology is real." "Then, can we start again?" I looked into her tear-filled eyes. "You still don't understand." "What do you mean?" "Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing." She stared at me. "I can forgive you." Hope appeared on her face. "But I can't return." Her smile disappeared. "Our relationship was built on trust." She nodded weakly. "You broke that trust." "I know. I can live without anger." Another tear rolled down her cheek. "But I can't build a future on betrayal." She covered her mouth as she cried. "I wish I could change the past." "So do I. But we can't." I reached into my pocket and placed the engagement ring in her hand. This belongs to your memories now. She looked down at it, trembling. I'll always regret losing you.
I gave heraf sad smile.
And I'll always remember loving you. I turned and began walking away. Behind me, I heard quiet sobs carried by the wind. I didn't look back. Some doors close forever. Not because forgiveness is impossible, but because peace sometimes means choosing a different path. I walked across the park without turning around. Every step felt lighter than the one before. For months, I had imagined this conversation. I thought I would feel victorious. Instead, I only felt calm. My phone vibrated. It was Lucas. How did it go? It's over. Are you okay? I looked up at the clear sky. For the first time in a long time. Yes. I'm proud of you. Thank you. You finally chose yourself. I should have done it a long time ago. After ending the call, I slowly made my way back to my office. Emma was waiting near the entrance. She smiled the moment she saw me. Did you meet her? I did. How do you feel? I thought for a moment before answering. Free. She hugged me tightly. I was hoping you'd say that. I carried that pain for too long. Not anymore. I smiled. Not anymore. Emma looked into my eyes. The old Ethan would have gone back. I know. But this Ethan won't. I nodded. Because I finally understand my worth. She laughed softly. I've missed hearing you talk like that. Before leaving, she squeezed my shoulder. Mom and Dad would be proud. Her words stayed with me long after she walked away. That evening, I stood alone in my office overlooking the city lights. I realized I wasn't closing a chapter. I was opening a new life. Victoria's tears belonged to yesterday. My future belonged to tomorrow. I whispered one final goodbye to the man I used to be. Then I turned off the lights, closed the office door, and walked toward the future without looking back. Chapter 8, The Revenge She Never Saw Coming. 1 year passed faster than I ever imagined. I stood inside my company's new headquarters, looking through the glass wall at hundreds of employees working together. Lucas walked into my office with his usual grin. Mr. Industry Leader. I laughed. Don't start. You've earned it. I earned a lot of gray hair too. He placed a newspaper on my desk. The headline made me smile. Carter Innovations named America's fastest growing technology company. Can you believe it? Lucas asked. A year ago, I thought my life was over. And now it's finally beginning. He sat across from me. I heard another piece of news. What is it? Damian's appeal was rejected. I nodded quietly. So he'll stay in prison. For a long time, I felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. Only peace. Lucas smiled. Funny, isn't it? What is? You don't even care anymore. I really don't. A few days later, Emma visited my office. She hugged me tightly. I have something to tell you. What? You've been selected for the National Innovation Award. I stared at her. You're joking. She laughed. I've never seen you speechless before. When is the ceremony? Tomorrow night. The following evening, we arrived at the awards ceremony together. As I adjusted my tie, Emma smiled. Nervous? A little. You'll be fine. The host walked onto the stage. And this year's National Innovation Award goes to... The room became silent. Ethan Carter. Emma clapped before anyone else. Lucas pushed my shoulder. Go. I walked toward the stage as applause filled the hall. The trophy felt heavier than I expected. I stood before the microphone. A year ago, I would have dedicated this award to proving someone wrong. Tonight was different. I smiled. I used to believe success meant beating my enemies. The audience listened quietly. I was wrong. I took a slow breath. I learned that success means becoming the person pain tried to destroy. The room erupted in applause. As I looked across the audience, I remembered the anonymous message that had changed everything. The woman you love has already chosen your enemy. At the time, those words shattered my heart. Today, I understood they had also saved my future. After the ceremony, Lucas laughed as we walked outside. So, how does it feel to win? I smiled. I didn't win because Damian lost. He nodded. I know. I didn't win because Victoria lost everything. What did you win then? Myself. Lucas laughed. See? What? The best revenge was never destroying your enemies. I smiled. It was building a life they could never take from me. He pointed toward my car. Ready to go home? I looked up at the stars. Home. He grinned. No. I smiled back. I'm ready to see what comes next. I opened the car door and took one last look at the city that had once broken me. It hadn't defeated me. It had transformed me. I drove toward the future with no anger in my heart, no weight on my shoulders, and no fear in my mind. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing revenge. I was simply living the life I had fought to deserve. And at that moment, I finally understood something that changed me forever. My greatest victory was never watching the people who betrayed me fall. It was refusing to let their betrayal decide who I would become. With a peaceful smile, I drove into the night, stronger, wiser, and finally free. As I drove home, my phone rang. It was Richard. Congratulations, Ethan. Thank you. You've accomplished something very few people ever do. What do you mean? You turned heartbreak into purpose. I smiled. I couldn't have done it alone. You listened when others would have chosen anger. I had good teachers. He laughed. Don't forget to enjoy your success. I won't. After the call ended, I slowed my car near the beach where Victoria and I had once planned our future. I didn't stop. I didn't feel the need to. Those memories no longer controlled me. They were simply part of the road that had brought me here. The next morning, our employees welcomed me with applause as I entered the office. Emma handed me a framed copy of the award. You should hang it in your office. I smiled. I will. Lucas looked around the room. Think about it. 1 year ago, you lost everything. I shook my head. No. He raised an eyebrow. No. I only thought I had. What did you really lose? A lie. And what did you gain? My life. Everyone laughed softly. I looked at the people standing beside me. Richard, Sarah, Lucas, Emma. They weren't just business partners or family. They were the people who stayed when everything else fell apart. I owe all of you more than I can ever say. Emma smiled. You don't owe us anything. You gave us a chance to believe in something worth building. I looked around the office one last time. This company wasn't built on revenge. It was built on trust, honesty, and second chances. Those were things no one could ever steal from me again. As I stepped into my office, sunlight filled the room through the large windows. I placed the award on the shelf, took a deep breath, and smiled. My story had never been about losing the woman I loved. It had always been about finding the man I was meant to become. That was the revenge she never saw coming. And that was the life I would proudly protect for the rest of my days. The end.